We are all socialists now.
The problem with Obamacare isn't too much socialism, it's still too much capitalism.
The socialists are here.
Corporate greed has got to go.
And they make a powerful argument.
If you've been successful, you didn't get there on your own.
Once upon a time, there was a land that was happy and prosperous. Just about everyone thought this was best. But over time, rich people decided they weren't rich enough, so they came up with ways to get richer.
Capitalism does bring inequality.
Inequality, is that so important after all?
Their philosophy is simple. We are better off when everybody's left to fend for themselves.
Is that really capitalism? His supporters think so.
Socialism has contributed mightily to the quality of life in this country.
No, it hasn't.
The free market is under attack. It's always under attack, and I see why. Markets lead to big wealth disparities. Markets feed off self-interest. At first glance, they're all about rich people getting richer at the expense of the poor. President Obama gets big applause by mocking those of us who say the free market will fix all sorts of problems.
The market will take care of everything, they tell us. If we just cut more regulations and cut more taxes, but here's the problem. It doesn't work. It has never worked.
That applause he got is the reason politicians keep passing laws to regulate the market, try to fix it, make it more fair. Laws like Obamacare, Dodd-Frank, the $800 billion stimulus, farm bills, the minimum wage, and so on. And we need more laws, says Congressman Charlie Rangel. Congressman Moore?
No, John, not more. I am a firm believer in the free market and capitalism. No one's knocking that.
But you do want more laws. You want a higher minimum wage. You want a draft. You propose bills.
Don't say more laws as though it is a distance. We want to make certain that people are able to enjoy capitalism. What our Constitution is all about is a country of laws and not just what people want to do. So don't make law sound so negative.
I'm not knocking the Constitution. That talked about limited government, a few laws, and let capitalism happen.
Well, let's do that. Nobody wants too much. But the question is that too much to one person is too little for another. And that's why we have this debate, and that's why you and I are talking about it. And we cannot have just 1% of the American population owning the majority of the wealth. This is a country that whatever you earn, you deserve. But don't get it the way some of the banks and bankers have done it. You need laws to put levels of regulation of those people that abuse the capitalistic system.
All right, so what's the right balance? What percentage of our economy should government be?
The right balance is a debate that's taking place in the Congress.
What do you think? 5%, 10%, 20%?
Percent doesn't mean a darn thing. If you want to have smaller government, you have to have less problems in making certain that the dreams and the aspirations of the American people have been met. How do we do it? By praying? No, we do it by law.
Well, Congressman, I assume you mean well, but I think your laws have unintended consequences, and many are just bad ideas. You sponsored the green energy tax credit for electric cars. Here you are on the floor of Congress.
It is endless, the possibilities that this bill will pursue, encouraging energy-efficient products such as plug-in hybrid cars.
Was that a good idea?
It's a great idea. We should try all of the ideas. We should invest in those ideas.
But it was welfare for the rich. People like Mike Huckabee and I got a free golf cart. The subsidy was so big that dealers were advertising you can get the cart for free. How did that help the environment? A bunch of us got free stuff from you.
Just because a handful of individuals that have greed more than science on their mind doesn't mean that my idea is bad. This money wasn't supposed to go to people. It was supposed to go into expanding science. That's why we have these agencies in the government, that is what they do. Sure, some people are going to be ripped off, and sure, we can identify who they are. What do we do about it? We exact a law to make certain, or at least to try, to prevent this from happening. But don't allow government to think that it must be small and that is good. Being small by itself is not good, and being large because we got big problems is not bad.
Long way from small government in this country. Congressman, thank you. We agree to disagree.
We're not a small country, and so therefore we don't require a small government.
Sadly, I fear most Americans agree with Congressman Rangel. Lots of people agree with pundits who say things like this.
European socialism works. For their tax dollars, Europeans get full health care coverage, a generous pension, daycare, long paid vacations, maternity leave, free college, and public transportation that doesn't smell like pee.
Yippee! His audience is convinced. Let's turn to two economists, Abby McCloskey and Victor Clark. Professor Clark, listen to him. Europeans get all this free stuff.
If you're content that the way things are now, then a European socialist state is a great way to go. But if you want a society where, 5 years ago we didn't have an iPad, we didn't know what that is. Today we have an iPad. Why? Because of a government program? No, because an entrepreneur envisioned that we might want an iPad and it would make our lives better as a result.
Greece was giving out all sorts of goodies to its people. Big entitlement state. Things were going great until the House of Cards came crashing down. We know where big government takes us. And yet there's this battle in America between that outcome and free market.
Yeah, maybe you know, but a lot of people don't. The Pope of all people now has come out criticizing markets. He's upset that some rich people are so much richer than poor people. And this income inequality upsets Americans too.
I share the Pope's concern for the poor, our brothers and sisters in this country and around the world, and we should help them. But the secret, John, is that in the last 40 years, the number of people in around the world who were living on $1 a day or less, that's dropped by 80%. 80% in the last 40 years. That's not because of stimulus money. That's not because of minimum wage. It's not because of the UN. That's because of the free market. So if we care about the poor, the free market system is the best system to help them.
So you're saying if you're going to lift the poor, you got to have inequality?
One of the really remarkable successes about the market economy over the last 100 years is that income inequality globally is actually narrowing. And it is because the bottom billion is moving up so much more quickly than the rest of us. And in a world where grinding poverty means spending most of your day transporting clean drinking water from one place to the next, that's not a life of meaning. That's not a life of opportunity. What we need to do is elevate the bottom billion and continue to do that. And a free society is the most effective way to make that happen.
All right, for thousands of years, people lived on $1 or $2 a day, equivalent today, and lived really lousy lives. Only recently, since we've had markets and the Industrial Revolution, have a lot of poor people lifted themselves higher. But the rich have gotten even richer, and this upsets people, and government will just level it a bit. What's wrong with that?
Here's the thing. If you took somebody from 200 or 300 years ago and brought them forward in a time machine today to spend a day with somebody really, really rich like Bill Gates, the things that would make that person's eyes pop are not how big Bill Gates' house is or how many servants he has. The things that would amaze them are the same things that the poor in America already have. A phone in your pocket, refrigeration, indoor air conditioning if you live in the American South. And those things are the things that make the quality of life better for everyone at the same time that there may perhaps be some growing income inequality. Hands down, it's a winner for everybody. If you focus on income inequality, you kind of miss the point. One of the reasons that people look at...
So that is a necessary byproduct of freedom, in your opinion?
Here's the thing. When people look at...
Can I get a yes or no, or maybe?
The answer is that economic inequality happens anytime that people create value. But the thing that they do is they create value for everyone. Bill Gates helps do brain surgery because he helped to train the doctors. He helps to manage the surgical implements and the linens that are used in that operating room, and manage the air conditioning and the gurneys that are in that room. And Bill Gates, by one office package at a time, made life better for all of us, in ways that we take for granted because we didn't see those things happening.
And I don't mind it that he's rich, but the Pope apparently does, and says income inequality is the result of an ideology that supports the marketplace and financial speculation, and this is a new tyranny.
There's no system that's going to take care of everyone in the world, right? It requires us engaging with people who have less than us in this country and around the world. However, if you look at government systems, economic systems, the free enterprise system has provided the most for poor people throughout history. There's just no comparison.
One final point about fairness. These days, corporations, so eager to be seen as politically correct, do things that they say will make life more fair. Since South American farmers don't make much money, expensive coffee sellers say, buy from us, because we only buy fair trade products. Here's a commercial from Starbucks. Sounds good. We're going to just buy Starbucks and they're going to pay a little more to these poor farmers. What's wrong with that?
Well, what's wrong with it is that at its very worst, fair trade is a marketing scheme. And that marketing scheme is designed to prey on caring people to get them to shell out a little bit more money for coffee than they would otherwise. At the very best, fair trade coffee is a charity, but as far as charities go, it's a very inefficient form of charity because you pay a little bit extra for coffee at your coffee shop or at the grocery store, and you hope that a few pennies of that trickle all the way up the supply chain to the small coffee growers that you're eventually hoping get a little bit of that money.
What's wrong with that?
What's wrong with that is that the money doesn't go very far. If you want to help poor coffee growers, first of all, the United States could end its ban on sugar from outside of the United States, or it could stop subsidizing rich cotton farmers in the United States and let poor people currently growing coffee grow those crops instead and give them access to our markets. The other thing you could do is take that extra 25 cents that you're spending on a cup of coffee and give it to an NGO that you know is doing really effective work with the very people that you're trying to help in the first place. At least that way they get more of the money.
Habby, I'll give you the last word. I fear we're not winning this battle because these arguments, rich capitalists, inequality, it ticks people off and they want government to step in and fix it.
More Obamacare.
And everything else.
And Dodd-Frank. You know, here's the bottom line. Free markets is about a lot more than money or greed or rich people getting ahead. It's about what's moral, what helps the poor people the most, what gives us opportunities to earn success, succeed. That's why our founders came and created this country, for life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, not for stimulus and cash for clunkers.